So, like the majority of the videos here on this YouTube channel, I'm going to confidently say that we don't really have much direction in this video. We're just going to go out there, talk about some points, and just go over different things, because when it comes to the Detroit Red Wings, I think there isn't one holistically big story that we can make one individual video about. They're just a bunch of other things that we could compile into one conversation here, and a lot of this, I will say, is coming to us via Detroit Hockey Now and Kevin Allen's The Daily article from earlier this morning, October 31st. Spooky, laugh, happy Halloween, ha ha ha. This will be linked in the description if you want to go ahead and read it yourself. The Daily, the Red Wings' consistency is lacking, and Sebastian Cossa is still impressive. Now, we did speak about Cossa in the last of these Red Wings-related videos, so maybe it's not really too necessary to dive into him once again, but I did want to just go over some of the recent stories here for Detroit. This article actually opens up by talking about the Wings' loss to the Winnipeg Jets the other day, and the Ben Sherratt goal that was scored by Nino Niederreiter. Yeah, you heard that right. The Ben Sherratt goal that was scored by Nino Niederreiter. Very unfortunate play, very unlucky play. And when it comes to the Wings and their goaltending situation, this is definitely not one of these games that's going to help out Alex Lyon and the save percentage numbers that he has. I mean, look, he had himself a .793 save percentage. That's not great, but it is even worse when you acknowledge that some of your own defensemen are scoring on your own net. So, other than that, the Wings lost. They kind of got stomped 6-2, despite the fact that they kind of clawed back in a way into the third period, so very unfortunate way to lose out on this game. Anyways, aside from that, I wanted to talk about some of the other things. The in case you missed it part is the part of the article that I wanted to go out there and dive into. Let's just read these 3 points here. 1. Former Detroit Red Wings defenseman Jake Walman put up back-to-back 3-point games for the San Jose Sharks. 2. GM Stevie Y recalled enforcer Austin Watson from the Grand Rapids Griffins. He played Wednesday night against the Winnipeg Jets. And number 3, Detroit's trade of Olli Maatta was made to clear up cap space and create more playing time for Albert Johansson and Justin Holl. The Red Wings only have 3 right-shot defensemen. Holl is one of them. This is a pretty interesting set of things here. In fact, let's talk about the trade mistake at the end, because a lot of these other transactions were more recent. Austin Watson getting the call-up because Vladimir Tarasenko had himself some sort of a flu. That's not necessarily the worst thing in the world. Tarasenko's a winger, Watson's a winger, he's coming out here to replace those minutes. I don't really think anybody's expecting too much out of Austin Watson. He has been producing the lights out with the Griffins, though. 6 points in 7 games played, on pace for about 61 points on the year. He already got sent down, so I think Vladimir Tarasenko should be on a pretty reasonable path to recovery. I will say, though, when it comes to Tarasenko, obviously we knew it was going to take a little bit of time for him to get adjusted to a new system, especially a team like Detroit that isn't as good as the teams that Tarasenko was on in the past. The New York Rangers, of course, were a pretty good team, and then the Florida Panthers he won the gosh darn Stanley Cup with. So obviously there is pedigree there, but Tarasenko, he has that goal scoring edge. He only has 2 goals in 9 games so far, but I do think that there's a little bit more to come here out of this free agent acquisition from Stevie Y. But talking about the other 2 things that were discussed here in the article, the trade of Olli Maatta over to the Utah Hockey Club. We had made the video about it the night it was made, but essentially Olli Maatta was more of an acquisition for Utah rather than a subtraction from Detroit. This team in Utah needed D-men. They don't have John Dursey, they don't have John Marino, they're going to be out for a while, so they needed bodies to fill up their roster, and Olli Maatta just happened to be that guy. This, for the Red Wings, was pretty good because they were able to free up that cap space, but when you consider the extended playing time given out to guys like Justin Holl and Albert Johansson, sure, it's great to see Albert Johansson get a little bit more reps in there, but Justin Holl, dude, this is not necessarily the most beloved player out there, and for good reason. He has been so defensively questionable at times throughout his career, and even when you discuss the other guy, the trade mistake, arguably Steve Yzerman's biggest trade mistake that he's made as GM of the Detroit Red Wings, it is the Jake Walman trade, because man, oh man, has this guy been a monster for the San Jose Sharks. Not to say that Jake Walman would be able to produce as much or have this much of a role on the Detroit Red Wings, but just looking at the Sharks and their decor, Jake Walman is the best guy there, and it's not even close. He has been getting 20-plus minute games, and the most recent 2 games he had were 24 minutes against Utah and the LA Kings. He had 3 points each in both of these contests, and even in the games where the San Jose Sharks were finding ways to lose, Jake Walman had a 25-minute game in there, he had a 24-minute game in there, and then 23-minute games too. He has been used. This San Jose Sharks team is getting maximum value out of a guy who, last year in Detroit, had 21 points. Now, Walman is on pace for 59 points. Does he hit it? I really don't know. I don't know if it's possible for him to continuously get 3-point games night in and night out, but the San Jose Sharks, one thing's for sure, they are going to use this guy and continue driving his minutes up into the moon. So for Jake Walman, obviously this is somebody who is going to bring a lot of intangibles, and he blocks shots, and he gets shots on goal, and he hits sometimes. Jake Walman is just a very versatile player for that San Jose Sharks decor. Not to say that he wouldn't necessarily be that in Detroit, but there are other better defensemen in Detroit compared to the Sharks that would have made it difficult for Walman to get 25-minute games in Detroit. That probably wouldn't have happened, but still, he would have brought more value to the team than, let's say, a Justin Hall, for example. A lot of people, myself included, were kind of flabbergasted when Jake Walman was traded for assets, when you consider that he was a legitimately good defenseman. Was his cap hit that bad, Stevie Y? I don't think so. I mean, look, $3.4 million a year till the end of 2025, 2026, that's not the worst thing in the world, but you could have traded away Maatta. You could have done that earlier. You could have, I don't know, not signed any of the guys that you ended up signing. It's a very difficult thing to process, especially now that Jake Walman is being productive. So I think for the Detroit Red Wings, this is always going to be sort of a shadow looming over the head of Steve Yzerman and his tenure here, especially if the team continues to struggle and continues to not put up any results. I mean, it's possible for the Detroit Red Wings to challenge for a playoff spot and actually make the dance this year and maybe have some sort of an impact in the first round, or maybe even 2 if we're being optimistic here. The Red Wings are, after all, in that really stacked Atlantic Division that just so happens to have every team pretty much tied. And the Wings are smack dab in the middle of that too. So, I don't know, it's possible for them to yield results after this Jake Walman trade, but seeing Walman do his thing in the Pacific Division, seeing him be so utilized and be a number 1 defenseman for San Jose, is not necessarily the best feeling in the world when you consider the results he's putting up. Would he have gotten that in Detroit? Probably not, but still, there is value in this player, and the Wings traded him away, and they paid a price to do that. So I kind of wanted to wrap this video up here. There are some other things talked about in this article on Detroit Hockey Now. There's a conversation about Sebastian Cossa, and of course, I mean, we talked about him already, but for now, I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about these Red Wings moves, the aftermath of the Maatta trade, the reason Austin Watson was recalled, his play against the Winnipeg Jets, the game that they lost, and then Jake Walman doing his thing in San Jose. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. 9 and bye.